Hey, it's me, Egbert. E-G-G-B-U-R-T. Check out my website at egbert.com. Now it's back to those two dudes who told me they would bring in big ratings. They better are their history. Here are Brad and John.
Well, John, we have to start this segment off with the latest Bill Eigel update, because of the fact.
I can't wait. So this is like a game we play, like, you know how the youth play Two Truths and a Lie?
Right.
So you could say something and then I gotta figure out if you just made it up or if you made it up last night.
Well, no, the thing that I find interesting about this is that sometimes when you fail, you succeed. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And John, not John, you're John. Bill failed at becoming our governor because he didn't make it past the primary. Although he made a great showing. Matter of fact, a lot of people thought he was going to be a, far and away number 3 candidate. I know.
Somebody that's a co-host of the show accurately predicted he would beat Jay Ashcroft and finish in second. But go ahead, Brad.
And I did say that, didn't I?
No, I did on Scott Fawn's show. You're right, Brad. And I guessed the exact percentage. You're right, Brad.
Right. Okay, and I said it. Didn't I say it? Or did you say it?
Yeah, I said it.
Oh, you said it.
As
okay.
I just said on Scott Fawn's show. Okay. I said it correct. I said it from the beginning. Yeah, go ahead.
I said Bill Eigel was going to be a part of the Glenn Beck show, and then nobody believed me, and Glenn Beck came to St. Louis this past weekend, and he was with Bill Eigel. Okay, nobody believes me on that one, but it is a true story. Okay,
He flew in with Amelia Earhart.
Glenn Beck was in St. Louis. He really was.
Yeah. They flew Earhart Airlines, Brad.
Well,
and then the Lindbergh baby joined them at the airport at Lambert Airport, and it was really ironic because it's like you got Lindbergh and Lambert at the same place.
Well, this is another scoop. Okay, Bill Eigel is going to move down to Fenton, and then he's going to run for CD3.
Ooh, I love it.
And
against his friend Bob?
Right, against his friend Bob, because neither of them live in the districts they're going to represent. But here's what's interesting. Then, and this is all stuff that's going to be verified. It's going to come out next week. He's going to make this change, and then in 2 weeks, he's going to change his mind and decide he's going to run for Missouri Secretary of State.
Yeah, he's a little bit early to that 2028 party. Now, the only thing that's stopping this, though, Brad, that Bob Onder already has talked about. Seriously, have you heard about this?
He's decided he's going to move back to his old house in Lake St. Louis?
Yeah, you're exactly right. He's going to be on the water next to that Nellie mansion, and he's introducing a bill to keep this from happening, to keep people moving from St. Charles County elsewhere. It's called a geofencing bill, Brad.
Really?
Yeah, and it doesn't really exist. But one time he was at a chamber meeting, and somebody's like, the word geofencing is super cool. And then Bob held on to it for years and years, even though it detracts from what his advertising base could be. And he pretends that you can't go across the river. It's amazing. I heard about it in Chesterfield on 107.1.
Really?
Yeah, it was amazing. I was listening to the TJ show for 5 hours. It's better to hear something from New York than something produced locally, that's for sure. Let's hear some New York guys talk instead of hearing Brad and John.
Okay. Next topic, okay? Over the weekend, I was listening to, by the way, have you ever, you're going to make fun of me when I say this. Do you know who Scott Simon and NPR is? You ever heard him before?
No.
Scott Simon used to be a full-time NPR person, and I think they have him, he's like semi-retired or something like that. God, I hate that when people say, I'm semi-retired. Hey, in or out of the boat, not 1 foot on the shore, 1 foot in the boat, okay? You're either retired or you're not retired. Okay, anyway, Scott Simon is really a very good presenter, host, whatever you want to call it. Very glib and very insightful. Okay, he did an incredible interview with Herb Alpert, okay? Remember the Tijuana Brass, Herb Alpert?
No, I don't.
You don't know who Herb Alpert is?
No, I just said I don't. You want to ask me a third time?
You really don't know who Herb Alpert is?
Go ahead, Brad. I think the listeners have caught on to the fact I don't know. Keep going.
Okay, Herb Alpert is a true important person in recorded music. I mean, just a fascinating story with Herb Alpert. And the interesting part of this is that Herb Alpert is my same age. He's 89, okay? And he just has his newest album out, and the album is titled 50, because it's his 50th album, okay? The guy is 89 years old. He's done 50 albums. He's made gazillion dollars. Him and his buddy, his friend back from 1962, 1963, started A&M Records, which at one point in time was a huge label. Had a lot of Midwest rockers, if I'm not mistaken. Head East was on A&M Records. And he's been married for 40 years. Okay, Scott's doing this interview, and once again, he's 89 years old, and in the interview, he starts talking about how he plays the trumpet every day. He picks up his trumpet and starts playing. And I'm going like, at 89, he still sounds good. Now, here's what's interesting about Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, okay? Herb Alpert is a fairly dark-skinned kind of dude, okay? And the music he played was music that had a tinge of mariachi band flavor to it, okay? And the story is, you don't know this because if you don't even know who he is, he had a big hit. The song was called The Lonely Bull. This is going back to the 60s, okay? Number one song. And the interesting thing about it was, this is when top 40 stations used to play instrumentals. You don't hear instrumentals anymore. It's like gone. It's all because you got to put that rap beat in there, and you got to put the beats in there from Ill Mind and stuff like that. Anyway, Herb Alpert was born and raised in California and was sort of frustrated one day and went down to Tijuana to watch a bull. What they call it, the bull, what do they call it, bull racing?
Bullfighting?
Bullfighting. I'm having a rough morning, okay. I'm 89, I'm not doing as good as Herb. Okay, and he got enthralled with the whole thing about they have the trumpets, that herald that the bulls come out in the field, and he came back and he recorded this song in the studio in Los Angeles with the Wrecking Crew. You know who the Wrecking Crew is?
Nope.
The Wrecking Crew is a famous group of studio musicians who were on gazillion songs. I mean, you think you're listening to the Beach Boys. No, you were not listening to the Beach Boys. You were listening to the Wrecking Crew. The Beach Boys did the vocals. The Wrecking Crew was all these studio musicians, Hal Blaine on drums, and was her name, I think was name was Chris Kay on guitar, stuff like that. Okay. Herb Alpert comes out with this song called The Lonely Bull, and it's all studio musicians, okay? And he comes out with an album. Matter of fact, I have to send you the copy of the cover of this album. As a young boy, my dad bought this album. I'm not sure if my dad bought the album to listen to Herb Alpert or my dad bought the album to look at the cover.
Are they a bunch of chicas?
No, there's only one on the cover on Sunday. Well, anyway, long story made short, the point I'm trying to get to was Herb Alpert started playing all this music, and it had this Mexican, sort of Latino sound to it, mariachi band kind of thing. And he decided that he was going to endorse it, and he decided he was going to essentially make everybody think he was a Mexican, and he started this band called the Tijuana Brass, which were a bunch of studio musicians he took on the road with him, okay? You know the interesting thing about this is?
He birthed Rachel Dolezal.
No, he's Jewish.
Oh, nice. Well, there's a lot of Mexican Jews running around.
No, I don't think there are. But he was never in Mexico. He was born in California. His parents are immigrants. I think his mom was immigrated from Romania and his father immigrated from Ukraine. And they for a decade, Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass dominated the music scene. And matter of fact, you remember ever watching the old Dating Games show?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Okay, all the bumper music in there is Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. That's what the bumper music is, okay?
Wow, okay.
Yes, so anyway, I was fascinated by him, and he's talking about going on tour next year when he turns 90. And I'm thinking to myself, I like this guy. Now, as opposed to we have someone currently who is in their 80s in the White House, this guy can actually put thoughts together that make sense. And he can pick up his trumpet and play his trumpet. And I'm saying to myself, he is a guy that showcases us 89-year-olds much better than the 82-year-old president we had, who once again, I'm going to vent my spleen right now. Once again, we had this horrendous tornado, hurricane that hit the Bend, as they call it, in Florida, which ended up causing havoc in eastern Tennessee and Georgia and North Carolina. And where was our president over the weekend? 3 guesses. Give me guess number 1.
Guess number 1 would be Delaware.
Yes, and specifically, where at in Delaware?
The beach.
Yes.
No way. Get out of town.
I swear, and even to the point where when he, in a press conference, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, he was actually asked a question. I don't think there was a press conference. I think he was walking somewhere, and a reporter said, "Mr. President, how come you weren't taking care of this matter over the weekend?" And his response was, I spent 2 hours on the phone over the weekend. What more do you want? I'm going like, okay, let's just.
I mean, that's fair.
Let's just pull the Band-Aid off. Let Kamala be president. Just make her president. That way, even if she loses the election, we'll still have the first woman president, the first woman Latino president, the first woman, whatever she is, Indian president, the first woman black president, all the first. And that kind of stuff come out. Now, on the and this has gotten to the point where I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Now it's sort of hitting the press that our second gentle mensch, Mr. what's his name again? Doug Emhoff.
Yeah.
He's been called the new face of masculinity. Have you heard this before?
Oh, no, I haven't heard this.
Yes, he's becoming the new face of masculinity, okay? And the memes are hitting left and right. Because also it came out that after he divorced his first wife, because once again, or actually his first wife divorced him. Why did his first wife divorce him? Because he shacked up with their nanny and got her pregnant. And once again, nobody has answered the question, what happened to that baby? No, I've heard the other day that she had an abortion. I heard the other day that she had the kid.
It seems like that would be rife for rumors. Maybe the mother of that child doesn't want to be at the center of a national controversy.
But once again, if this were
once again for the 23rd time this show,
if this were Trump, they would be staked out in front of the woman's house. There would be satellite trucks sitting there. The woman couldn't come out of she couldn't peek out of her window without the paparazzi taking their telephoto lens shots. You know what I'm saying? So
I do know. But doesn't this really score the fact that whether you're Kamala or you're AOC, that the top of the food chain is white men?
Well, to me, it's the ultimate of hypocrisy because it also comes out. I didn't finish my thought. After he got divorced from his first wife, he was dating some woman, and they were someplace in Europe. And as the story goes, he claims it's not true. As the story goes, his girlfriend at the time, his date at the time, was flirting with like the valet or something like that, and he backhanded her across the face, whacked her in the face. And he claimed, oh, that never happened. She claims, yes, it did. He hit me in the face because I was being nice to the valet. So this is the new definition of masculinity. You knock up your nanny.
I'm with that. Go ahead.
Then you get divorced. Your wife throws you out. You get divorced. You start dating some hot woman. You're in Europe with her. The valet gets a little bit friendly with your date. You whack her in the face. That's the new face of masculinity.
I think it's a good white knight opportunity for men to hear the second part of that story for sure and be like, I would never do that. That sounds twoo. I mean, we're going on some jilted woman claims that she was flirting with a guy, and I don't know. I mean, I saw headlines about this, Brad, and don't care enough about it to click on it because to me it seems like where was this chick, years ago? Was this chick talking about this, making up this story 6 years ago? Why is she just talking about it now?
Okay, John, let's take that and compare that to the fact that E. Jean Carroll, who can't remember what year it happened, where it happened, or any of those kind of things.
You're doing some whataboutism. You're right. What about E. Jean Carroll? What about?
She can get Trump convicted of, and interesting because according to who is it, George Stephanopoulos, whatever his name is.
Yeah, George Stephanopoulos.
Trump is suing him because he said that he was convicted of rape when he was not. He was convicted of sexual assault or something like that. How is it that that's okay that she can't remember where, when, who, what day it was, what she was wearing, where it even was? But yet,
are you suggesting there's a double standard here, Brad?
I am suggesting there's a double standard, and it drives
Holy cow.
It drives me nuts because of the fact that once again, I'm the guy.
Once again.
I'm the guy that took this class years ago with this crazy professor, Kamil Winter.
Here we go. Kamil Winter, up from the dead. Let's have a seance today. We haven't talked about him in 4 days. Let's bring up Kamil. Go ahead. That's the new intro song to Kamil Winter Stories.
He taught me what journalism is, not what it masquerades about today. Once again, see. This is why nobody trusts the press anymore.
I trust the media because I just went to St. Louis Public Radio, and I see the lead story is the first season of girls flag football at Belleville High School. And I also see a story about Melville students learning to identify biodiversity in their backyards. I also see a black DJ moving to St. Louis and performing at Queer Fest. So, Brad, journalism is not dead. And you can end your seance with Kamil Winter, because we do it every week, and put him back in the grave, Brad. Let him rest and go to St. Louis Public Radio. Maybe you'll learn something.
John.
Kamil Winter's like, God, will Brad leave me alone? Let me rest in peace. They've already given me a dozen awards at the university. Can't Brad only bring me up every 2 weeks instead of every week?
No, here's what Kamil Winter would do. He would get to the point where your noses would almost touch, and he would say, "What is wrong with you?"
Wow, that sounds like latent homosexuality being rechanneled. But hey, he came from, they got lonely over there in the Eastern Bloc.
He got chased out of Czechoslovakia by the Soviets who were taking over Czechoslovakia.
He should have just pretended to be a Mexican Jew and everything would have been fine.
He could have done.
This segment is brought to you by Zionist Brad Hildebrand. It's 7:41.
He could have played with Herb Alpert. I can't believe you don't know who Herb Alpert is.
I can't believe it either, Brad. Can you believe I wasn't born in the 1960s?
Well, I was born in the 30s, and I still know who Herb Alpert was. Okay.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?